Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, then this channel is all about planning for and then eventually having a baby whilst working remotely, living in Nottingham and without having any family nearby. The full story is here in this video. Do check it out. However, today is all about money planning, financial planning. So let's get straight into it. We planned to have a baby, which gave me a little bit of time to think about the financial side of things and plan about how much maternity leave I wanted to take. The decision to have a baby, however, is not as straightforward if you think about especially the opportunity costs, right? I would say especially for the mother in terms of, salary, pension loss, but also perhaps career progression and more. So for me, emotionally, I already knew that that is all worth it for me. But what I wanted to really establish is a little bit more of an objective and informed view of how my finances would look like throughout my tax year and my maternity leave. I think one of the reasons why financial planning for a baby is so hard and so overwhelming is if you approach it from purely a cost perspective. Asking, for example, how much does a baby cost? That question is too broad. This is because the cost depends on where you live, whether you breastfeed or formula feed, whether you buy new or second-hand, how long you take off work, and what childcare you eventually use. And all of those variables make a huge difference, which means the generic number you find online is, I believe, for my situation at least, almost useless. So what you need is to figure out your number in terms of what you think you're going to spend, what you think your net income is going to be, especially during the tax year when you are going to maternity leave, how you're going to plan for that downfall in your income, and then build that around your life. And I think the only way to do that is really to go deep down into your own financials and build a little framework around your planning, a financial situation, and then eventually calculate how much maternity leave you can take or you should take or you would like to take, of course, depending on your financial situation. And so I did just that. I built a little spreadsheet that I'm going to show you right now, so we can take a look together with some example figures, which will help you figure out your gross salary for the tax year, then figure out your net salary, and then a downfall based on your usual gross salary in comparison to the year that you go on maternity leave. So let's take a look together. So here is a quick spreadsheet that I've put together that enables you to estimate your gross pay during your mat leave and then compare it to your usual pay. And then also translate this with HMRC net income calculator into net income. So let's take a look at it together. The first step over here is to calculate your total gross salary for the entire tax year during your maternity leave. So in order to do that, these fields over here are fields that you can input into. So here you will input your maternity leave start date. Like my one is, for example, 1st of July 2026. Then here you will input your usual annual gross salary. Let's pretend here that we are working with someone who's earning 50,000 a year before any deductions, so this is gross. Then we will input our enhanced full pay in number of weeks from your employer. So if you are an employee, sometimes you will get an enhanced pay from your employer during your maternity leave. Now, if this is 0, then you feel free to also input 0 weeks. Here we're we have an example of 16 weeks. So this person is earning 50K salary. They're getting 16 weeks of full pay from their employer, and they are planning to take about 36 weeks of maternity leave. And this can be adjusted, and you can play around with it as well. With that, given that the spreadsheet assumes that this person is an employee and therefore will be eligible to statutory maternity pay or S&P, we leave the weekly flat rate that is updated here of 194.32, and that is the weekly flat rate for S&P for the years of 2026 and 2027. Here, next what we have is also bonus columns. So let's pretend that before this person goes on mat leave, they receive a bonus, for example, sometime in May, and that they've hit their quarterly target, let's say, and they will also receive a bonus for August. So we have 2 bonus columns. Again, this can be left empty. These are all the input fields that you need to put in, and then here we have key dates and tax year references. So all that is here, and you don't have to change anything here, but it's looking at the tax year start date and end date from 2026 to 2027. And if your maternity leave is later as well and goes over 2 tax years, it will also incorporate the second tax year. Then it looks at, again, your maternity leave start, your maternity leave end date based on the number of weeks that you have input. This is approximate because we are working with a number of weeks, not days. And then it will also estimate, again, based on number of weeks, not days, when you're about to return to work. Then it's looking at the number of weeks before mat leave. So this will be fully paid because you're still working, or this person is still working. Then weeks of mat leave in tax year 1 and tax year 2, and then weeks back at work in tax year 1 and tax year 2. So here we can just double check that this person is taking about 36 weeks and it all falls into tax year 1. So then let's take a look at the full gross pay summary. In this example, it all falls into 1 tax year. So what we have here is the pre-maternity pay, so before the person goes into maternity leave. Then the employer full pay. In this example, this person is getting 16 weeks of enhanced leave. If that wasn't the case, then we would get the S&P, which is 90% of your average weekly earnings for the first 6 weeks. Of course, here it is 0 because it's replaced by the employer enhanced pay. Then after the 6 weeks, we get, after the 6 weeks or the enhanced pay, we get into the flat rate. So that's for here 3,886. That is, I believe, yes, 194.32, or 90% of your average weekly earnings, whichever is lower. And you can get that for the next 33 weeks. And then if you take more than that, then there would be also some unpaid weeks, of course. Then return to work. So this person is returning to work at the beginning of March. That means they will still be working until the end of this tax year. So they'll earn this much, and then this is calculating the bonuses that they're going to get, also gross, of course. So in this example, the total gross pay for this tax year would be 49.6 thousand approximately. So then what do we do next? Next, what I wanted to understand for myself and why I made this spreadsheet is to calculate my net pay during the maternity period. which is here, and then compare it to against my usual net pay that let's say I would have been getting when I was working. So in step 2 here, as you can see, you can take your total gross pay per tax year and put it into a UK net salary calculator from the government. So let's say we have this gross pay over here. We take that, we just copy that, we go onto the website. I'm going to go here. We copy in the gross pay. This is for the year. We are not over the state pension age. And then the nice thing here is that you can really make sure that it's a lot more accurate by providing, for example, your tax code and your pension contributions or any student loans, postgraduate loans. So, for example, during the maternity period, let's pretend that we are decreasing our pension contributions to 5%. I'm not going to put in the tax code for now, but you can do that. That takes us to this net income. So we can copy that. We've already got it here, I presume. Yes, we do. Which is average net monthly of 3.1k. And then we take our normal gross salary. So that would be, let's say our usual annual gross salary is 50k, and then if you get any more bonuses if you were working, for example, through the whole year. That's what I tried to figure out. So here we can, for example, pretend that this person will get 4 bonuses during the year. They will be on a 50k salary, and the bonuses would not be just 7k, but let's say they get these every quarter, so we can double those. So let's say 2 times 7, 14k, so that would take us to 64k of gross salary. So what I'll do here, we can just update the answers, change the gross salary to 64,000 yearly. But here I'm also going to say, for example, that when we're normally working, we are contributing more to the pension, but up to everyone's preference. But then we calculate it, and it's going to take us to a net of 41,921. So we've already got it here, and that's your usual monthly net. So now we're just comparing these two numbers. So the annual net shortfall, so the difference between 41.9 minus 37.26 is 4,600 for the whole year. So that means on a monthly basis, net, this person is going to be earning £390 less during the whole year that they are on maternity leave. Now, what did I do when I was calculating my own numbers with this? Is I understood that there are, for example, some subscriptions that I can get rid of, like I'm talking later about the gym subscription that, for example, has given me an extra almost 80 or to 100 pounds to play with. That gives me the monthly net shortfall of only 290. And then what I can do is if I'm in a stage where I was planning for the baby, and when I'm still working full time before, during being pregnant as well, that of course takes a lot of time. You have all this time to think about how can I save this money. So then what I would do in my example is obviously decrease my expenses during my maternity leave, but I would also try to save, for example, this £290 every month that I would put into the maternity pot to make up for this sort of like a shortfall, to then have that money during my maternity leave, which would then take me very nicely to actually having almost no shortage in my income with the reduced expenses as well. So these are not my numbers, but this is the kind of process that I did for planning. So see what your outcomes are, calculate how much less you're going to be earning for the whole tax year. Obviously you're going to be earning a lot less also during your maternity leave actually, but I think the tax year is really important to take into consideration, because that will then help you understand what is your total income tax going to be for the full year as well. So this is what really helped me, and I hope it helps you too. You can download this spreadsheet by clicking in the description of the video. I will link it there, and you can make your own copy. Hope this helps. So after the spreadsheet exercise, knowing that I wanted to be at home for about 36 weeks or probably 8 months, because then my partner Philippe can take over for a few more additional weeks, since he also has enhanced paternity leave from his employer. What I really wanted to answer is, how can I live well as if I had my usual salary and counteract the downfall? So of course, because we planned for the baby, I was able to plan for this, and now I'm going to tell you about 7 things that I thought of doing before having the baby, whilst already the planning started, and how I got there. Number 1, I started saving when we started planning for the baby and started trying for the baby. I think this was one of the most single important decisions I have made, because that enabled me to save every month, put into kind of a maternity fund that I have set up on one of my bank accounts. A lot of bank accounts allow you to do this. For example, Monzo does, Starling also does. There might be loads of others as well. So just check what you can do, but it's really nice way of just trying to set aside like a pot of money that you want to save every month whilst you're on a normal salary, if you have the foresight to do this when you are planning for the baby. And then every month I had a direct debit that I would just send money to that pot and just forget about it. Number 2, we stopped overpaying our mortgage. So the way we set up our mortgage is set up at a very low minimum repayment. So we always used to overpay on our mortgage, so that we can make sure that we pay the house off, as soon as possible. And at the same time, if one of us was to, for example, lose a job, then the other person would be able to still afford the minimum repayment on the mortgage. The moment we found out that we are pregnant, we actually decided to stop overpaying, so that we could save more money for the baby. That again allowed a lot more money to be put into the maternity savings pot, which was really great. And I also decided that we're not going to be overpaying the mortgage during the time that I'm on maternity leave, because again, it gives me additional income to live off, and I think that's going to be really, really important for me. Number 3, my pension contributions. I decided to reduce those. I've been contributing quite a bit of money to my pension when planning for the baby, and then close to now, around 30 weeks, I would say, I decided to reduce my pension contributions to around 5%. Again, not a financial advisor, but this is something that has worked for me, because I would rather have more income now, because I know that I'll be on a lower income during my maternity leave, and that will really help me to get through this period in a very comfortable way. However, needless to say, that the year prior, I've been contributing a lot of money to my pension. So it's almost like I prepared for this downgrade in my pension contribution the year prior, so it wouldn't actually impact my overall contribution. Number 4, I decided that I will not be saving any money during my maternity leave. It's because I'll be taking 8 months. My employer gives me 16 weeks of enhanced maternity leave, which is great. But then that means that for the following 4 months, I will not be earning much money. I'll be taking the statutory maternity pay, which, as you saw from the spreadsheet, is, not much, but grateful that it's at least something. But that means that I will not be likely able to afford to put money towards my savings. Number 5, I have decided to cancel my gym membership at 30 weeks. I used to pay for a very expensive gym, Virgin Gym, because I love swimming, I love taking classes, so that expense was very much worth it for me. But now at 30 weeks, I feel like I wasn't really going there anymore. I feel that it's better for me to just be walking outside, for example. And then I felt that after giving birth, I don't think I'll be going to gym for maybe 6 weeks. I don't know how long. So I thought that the best way to do this is to cancel my gym membership. You can also take a look, for example, if you can freeze your membership. Some gym offers it. Mine does too, but I prefer to cancel. And that will give me, again, close to £80 a month that I can live on, start saving already now whilst I'm on full pay into the maternity pot, and then it will be, again, just additional income that I'm going to have. Number 6, I've decluttered a lot in preparation for the baby. We either sold or threw away a lot of things that we didn't want to have in the house. Lots of things that we sold was, for example, some of my clothes, some old car things that we used to have like stuck in the garage. A lot of these things give you, for example, 10, 15 pounds, but it is something. And all of that money that I have made extra from selling these items that we no longer needed, that were just sitting in the house, I also put towards the maternity pot. So every little helps. And then last but not least, number 7, I decided, and I haven't done that yet, to be completely honest, but I decided that I'm going to batch cook. So when I give birth, first of all, the biggest advantage there is that I'm going to have food readily available for myself, that I can just put in the fridge, take out from the freezer, and then I can just heat it whilst I'm walking around with restless without any sleep. That means Felipe, my partner, also doesn't have to, try and make food for me because I'm a vegetarian and he's not. It's going to be easier in that way. But most importantly, it will save me a lot of money from having to do deliveries from like Uber Eats or Deliveroo, because those things are really expensive. You could end up paying like, let's say, £25 for a meal. I do that very, very rarely nowadays, and I just think that if I didn't have any food after giving birth, ready-made, that I prepared for myself, then I would be spending a lot of money on those things. So for me, this would be a big expense, and it will be worth it, and I will put in the effort to batch cook in around 2 to 3 weeks. So this is it. These are my top tips on how to plan for maternity leave and what to do in order to have a comfortable maternity leave. This is what worked for me, and I hope some of this was useful also to you. And before I close off, I want to close off with a few thoughts from myself. I feel like everything that we've just talked about becomes a lot less overwhelming when you have a plan in mind, but most importantly, when you plan in advance and have a framework to follow. Once you have a framework to follow, then all the confusion and all the feeling of being really overwhelmed about it, when you're looking online about averages and how much does it cost to have a baby and how much should people save, all of that goes out of the window, and you're focusing on yourself, your financial situation, and sort of comfort you want to have during your maternity leave. That was really, really important for me, and I hope that you take some of these thoughts away for your own planning as well. I feel that way because I feel that the maternity leave is going to be this 8 months that are temporary in my life that I will never get back. That's 8 months of something that will never happen to me again. It will be our first baby. I can't wait to enjoy this time. And what I really wanted to do is not to be worried about this time about my finances. I wanted to be a time that I'm content with, that I'm really enjoying and I'm thriving, and I can really give my best to my partner and of course to our new baby. And that was really, really important for me, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be something that's going to be important for you as well. I welcome any feedback, anything that you found that worked for you. Please comment on the video and let us know. There's still things that I could do differently as well, so I'm definitely willing to. Thank you so much for listening. It means truly so much that you are on this journey with me. I'm looking forward to your comments. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.